The comments heard on The View from a Pew are those of Mac McCoy and are not necessarily the opinions of his guests, his producer Garth, any one particular denomination or religion, the church lady, Mr. Lemke, Pastor Craig, or anyone else of sound mind and body. Now, here is today's The View from a Pew, heard all around the world on YouTube. Just search for The View from a Pew.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Mac McCoy, and welcome to the October 3rd, 2025 edition of The View from a Pew. My co-host, Steve Arndt's in the building, and we're asking a tough question today. What's the truth? Discerning God's truth. Concerning what topic? Steve's got it all figured out today, and we thank you for being here. We thank you for watching and listening. You can always email me at Mac, M-A-C, like macaroni, Mac, M-A-C, The View from a Pew, theviewfromapew.com. Also, we have a beta website that we're working on, and that one's going to be called muggedbyjesus.com. But we're working on it. You can look at it if you want. Make any suggestions you want to. We've already had a couple people point out grammatical mistakes that I made. One was a whole page. So Miss M has to, go through all of this for me so it's correct. All right, so Steve, what's our first question? And I'm going to try to see if I can give one to you. Was Charlie Kirk a right-wing provocator?
Well, Matt.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, I think so. Well, that's a big word for you, provocator.
Well, anything over at is a big word.
Well, that's a good question because the left is saying he was, So is he? Well, if somebody speaks honestly and courageously about important subjects and has compassion and God is his witness, I would say not. I'd go further to say, let's go to Satan when he quoted Psalm 91, my refuge and my fortress, out of context when tempting Jesus by saying, if you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written. Well, it wasn't written this way. It wasn't written, he will command his angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone. He made that up.
Yeah, he did.
He just made it up. So look at it this way. Why should we expect the world to treat modern truth tellers any differently? That's my answer.
Well, and it's so funny. And if you want one of my pet peeves, I'll share it with you. And I'll tell you, if I see it on social media, it's when someone who doesn't know Jesus, who doesn't know the relationship with him, and then tries to quote a Bible verse.
Yes, or even more inappropriately, when they take and use it as a negative versus a positive.
Yeah.
And then make it look like they're guilty of something, which is absolutely wrong.
And here's one of the big ones they always get wrong. Money is the root of all evil. What does it really say in the Bible?
I think it has to do about ego is the most evil thing. Yeah.
The love of money.
Well, the love of oneself.
Or oneself.
To the excess of
yes. But they always leave out the love of money. They just say, well, money's a terrible thing. The Bible even says so.
Well, and I've seen you stuff in mattresses with money, and I know you don't particularly love it because it's not that comfortable. But nevertheless, I understand why. But the point being...
That's because I stuff it with rolls of pennies. No wonder it's not comfortable.
And the government's going to come and confiscate it because, it costs more to make those pennies than it's worth.
Yeah, that's right.
So, anyway, but, I think the idea of, maybe what we should ask our question I ask you, Mac, is what is discernment?
What is discernment? And I don't know these in advance from Steve, so we haven't rehearsed this.
Yeah, I don't get this to him until right before the show.
But this isn't even written down, is it? I don't think so.
No, it isn't written down.
Discernment is asking the Holy Spirit to talk to you about this person or this statement or whatever it is you're discerning.
Well, and I was even looking for a secular definition,
Oh,
meaning
well, then the
just
Holy Spirit doesn't do you, just your ego
well,
does.
I don't have the Holy Spirit with me right now. So, secularly speaking,
Would you leave your
it's
Christianity at home?
no, I brought it with me, but it's in my suitcase right here. I didn't want to lose it.
Oh.
So,
Can I buy it?
it's not for sale. It's
Oh,
free.
oh, okay.
Yeah, and you know what? It's
Good
what's
line.
interesting about it. The more,
Good job.
just like love, the more you give it, the more you have.
Yep.
So I keep giving it away, and this bag keeps getting full, and it works out pretty good. It's kind of like giving away those keychains that our church came out with. I just keep giving them away, and I did finally run out, though. I'm gonna have to get some more. I mean, really did run out. I didn't think I'd ever run out.
You're the guy that took more than one.
I did take more than one.
Oh,
I've had a
my.
great time with them.
Good.
So the point is, discerning is thinking well, thinking truthfully, thinking with the Spirit inside you, yes. Because if you're truthful, you've got to be on God's side. You can't be on the opposite. Because who's the father of all lies? Everybody? Man?
Satan.
Yeah, you're right, I think.
Well, and the other thing about that is using discernment the wrong way. And I used to do that.
Well, yes. I mean, we can, remember Satan's quoting wrong. People can, I mean, this is a real problem today. People are calling good, bad, and bad, good.
That's right.
I mean, when it gets to that extreme, anything goes.
Well,
All
it says
bets are
that in
off.
Revelation.
Yeah.
That the end of times will be when all is good is now bad and all is bad is now good.
I think you told me that last week, in
I
fact.
might have.
And wisdom comes from that chair.
No, I told you wisdom is something you hear, not what you say.
Oh, I got that a little confused. My
Yeah.
apologies.
That's all right. But when somebody, we're kind of getting off subject here, but that's okay. When somebody says I'm a real wise person, they don't know. They don't know anything other than their ego is screeching.
Well, wisdom is recognized by others, not by self. And so
Yes, there you go.
There you go. That's a good philosophical
Yeah,
line.
there you go.
You might have to borrow that, Mac.
May I?
You may.
Can I give you a nickel for it?
A penny would be better. You got more of those.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Was killing Charlie Kirk a politically motivated attack?
Well, I think that's a really interesting question, the way you pose that, because perhaps it isn't politically correct, but it could be let's just say, aside from being politically correct or not, it isn't the truth.
Right.
Now, the reason I would say that, Jesus was accused of being political, wasn't he?
He was.
Now, did that mean he was?
Um,
Was
in-
his objective to be political?
No.
Okay. Was his objective to take over the kingdoms? Was his
No.
objective to show his power per se,
No.
just for the sake of? So the point is, Charlie Kirk may have incited people to walk behind and seek Christ, and he may have incited people to get excited. He may have incited people to want to talk with him and debate with him. Now, did that get political attention? Yes. But was he political about it? No. We live in a political world. It can't be avoided. If you talk about anything that has to do with people's actions in the world today, it's going to touch on politics. And the very people that talk about being politically correct are the ones that don't want to be questioned.
Correct.
And that's why that term is used. It's the most erroneous thing ever made.
Yeah.
So could he be politically correct? No, it's not even in his vocabulary. Couldn't be.
So was he killed, though, because of politics?
I think he was killed because of evil.
Okay, that's the best answer.
It's the only answer.
Yeah. Well, no, there's a couple more.
Well, I mean, the only right answer. I mean, I know, Mac. I'm sure you got 5, but I could disprove all of them. I mean,
but no, that is really the right answer.
that is the
because
right
of evil.
answer
Yeah.
because the person that killed him seemed to have done it out of hate, and hate is evil when you exercise it, is it?
Oh,
Isn't
yeah.
it? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing good about hate. You know, I was sitting in church. By the way, I'm Mac McCoy. This is Steve Arch. You're listening to The View from a Pew. And today we're talking about discerning God's truth. I got into a discussion with somebody not too long ago that I would have answered that question, was Jesus political? I would have said yes. And then one of our pastors actually heard me say that and sat down with me and explained to me why Jesus was not political. But you just asked the right question. In other people's mind, was he? Absolutely.
You know, I had a professor that had what they call, he exercised a correction factor on his exam. So if you got it right, you got so many points. If you left it blank, so many were taken off. But if you answered it wrong, more points were taken off than if you just left it blank.
Really?
Yeah, and so I think you need a correction factor. You know, and every time you say something, somebody needs to be listening so they can correct you, and it's called the correction factor. And if you're not careful, you can end up going in the hole as much as being above the level. That was a tricky way to take tests. I'll tell you what. If you didn't know it, you didn't want to guess. So what?
Steve, you need to learn to talk to me like I'm a 6-year-old.
Well,
That whole sentence just flew over my head.
I'm sorry. I forgot that makeup joke that you went over your head before. So the point is that, you know, Charlie Kirk, I mean, he's like a lightning rod right now. Is he the only thing in the news? No, but he focuses our attention on what is right and what is wrong.
Well,
it's very clear.
And when you talk about Jesus being political, they wanted him to be political. And that was the reason they killed him, because he wouldn't admit that this was political. So they were even more afraid of him because he wasn't political.
Yeah, if the truth was known, if those that wanted him dead wanted to do this, the idea of getting him in the open in a big space was ideal for them. That's when you can pop them off, so to say, get a gun and shoot them and so on. But that brings me to another question you were asking me the other day about something about guns. What was that?
Well, there's this argument that every time somebody is killed or there's a shooting, the liberals immediately go to, well, we need to ban guns. Now, guns are the problem.
Yeah, now, there's an example of not being discerning.
Yeah.
Because right away, no matter what happens, it's the guns that are fault. Now, I've never seen a gun yet. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Mac. I don't have all the answers, but I've never seen a gun go off by itself. I always see a finger that has something to do with a trigger, if I'm using my right terminology,
Yep.
and then this projectile comes out of the barrel at a lightning speed, and that's what does the damage. But it all goes back to the shooter. Now,
Right.
I remember, violence as the left is promoting it, they're inciting it. If we go back to Nazi Germany, they took all the guns from all the people. Look what happened.
Yeah.
In more recent history, I think a lot of people don't realize this, but Australia did the same thing. They thought this would be safe. They had so much lawlessness afterwards, they gave all the guns back.
Yep.
And they went complete flip. Now, do you know in Switzerland, people think Switzerland's pretty smart. I mean, they got all the money and holding it. Yeah, it's pretty smart.
Yeah.
So who's going to attack them if they got everything you put in there? So anyway, but they train every person on a gun.
Yeah.
To shoot. Everybody's got a gun.
Yeah.
Now, why would you do that? Why would a country do that?
Train them?
Yeah, they train them on the guns. You bet.
You're being sarcastic.
I
right?
am not being sarcastic. A lot of people don't know this is happening.
Why would they train them?
No, I'm not asking why they would train them, but why do you think they train them? Why do you think they give them guns?
To protect themselves.
From who?
From the enemy.
Who is the enemy?
You.
Who? Me?
No. No, I mean, this is
Not you. You. Me. Okay.
This is a sinful world, so we always have hate, and we have coveting, we have jealousy, and a lot of times that ends up with me with someone wanting to get rid of somebody else because they can't agree.
A lot, folks. If we go back into history, and I did, the founders of our Constitution understood what can happen. They understood and provided for each of us to possess arms. Now, these arms were meant to protect us, not from outside, but from inside,
Right.
our own government.
Yep.
And today, the deceptive, progressive, liberal left, I try to get all that.
Yeah, you got that all in one
I
sentence.
could
Very
just
good.
call them something else, but that's who they are, whatever you want to call them. But they're promoting this, using this as a tool, no different than Hitler did, no different than a political party in Australia, so on and so forth. It has never worked. Even in World War II, Japan was never going to land on our land because they were scared to death of us with all those guns.
Yep.
They didn't think there was a chance in hell, pardon the pun, to attack us on land. Just think of that then?
Well, it's the old saying, guns don't kill people. People kill people.
Right, and that's the truth. That's discerning the truth.
Well, here's the joke I like. Oh, well, in that case, my spoon makes me fat. Let's get rid of spoons, and then we'll get rid of obesity and diabetes. Let's just get rid of spoons.
Well, I would say that people that use chopsticks usually aren't as fat. Maybe there's some rationale there, but I think it has to do with diet and other things. Although if I had to live on chopsticks, I probably would lose some weight. I would say that's true. So be that as it may,
Actually, that's a good point.
maybe we should try it.
Well, but seriously, think about, now, I want to be careful here because I don't want everybody and nobody, but a lot of Asian people are thin.
Yeah, and I think some of it's genetic, some of it's the diet. A lot of
I
it's
think it's a diet.
well, and Japan in particular, a fish a big deal. And if you look at China, pork is a big deal. And chickens. Well,
Yes.
chicken and fish. Now those are three pretty healthy combination. They don't have a lot of beef, and India, of course, don't eat much beef. For obvious reasons. Because
The cow is sacred.
yeah, sacred. So I mean, be that as it may, but who has the red meat and who has the high? And I'm not against red meat. I love red meat, but I'm just saying we're probably more prone to pick up weight. Of course, it's followed by ice cream and other things.
Okay, but when you're talking about diet, there are rules to a healthy diet and rules to an unhealthy diet. We have rules or laws, if you want to call them that, to keep us comfortable, to keep us safe, to keep us in relationships. But here's my question. Are laws being enforced by the left?
Well, it's sad. I mean, it's really sad because democracy, a representative form of government, declines when laws are not enforced. 39 of the largest cities in America have progressive mayors, where crime is out of control. And when this happens, this includes sanctuary cities are not enforced, the president has not only the right but the obligation to mobilize reinforcements. Just now, Portland, Oregon, Mayor Keith Wilson said that he would not do anything to help the federal government enforce the law and would protect the city's sanctuary status for illegal aliens. And I quote, "We will not engage with the federal immigration enforcement that goes on," Wilson said, according to KOIN 6 News. That is our sanctuary city goals. That is what the governor's goals are. So you can rest assured we won't be engaging with or working with ICE in any circumstances. Now, President Trump only sent troops out there because it's out of control. It's clearly out of control. What I don't understand, how can you want to live that way? How do you want to have chaos? So the question I ask myself is, what is the cause of this? And the only thing I can come up with is evil.
Sin. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other explanation for it.
Well, the other thing is there are people out there who can manage chaos easier than they can manage peace.
Well, and there's some, and there's obviously, as we know, we have terrorists within our borders, and these groups are doing everything they can. They're being paid to do it. And so if they get something strung up and they can add a little fuel to the fire and they get Portland riled up to a certain point and they think it can really make it burn, literally, that's what they're going to do. So that's where we're at.
There's a company here in America, a completely legal company, and I can't remember what the name of it is, but their service is to provide you with protesters. And my guess is there's a form filled out somewhere or a conversation, so maybe it's not written down. What kind of protesters do you want? Do you want violent? Do you want quiet? Do you want peaceful? Do you want them armed? Do you want them with signs? I always get a kick when I see something on TV where all the protesters are there with signs, and it's all the same writing.
Well, this is where we could you could show your intelligence and ask for a provocator. To just to show that you're one up on it.
There's the big word for the day.
Yes, we got to reinforce that once. Both of us need to hear something twice to get it. So this is for our benefit. Hopefully it helps you too.
Okay, so as we're talking about truth, and God's truth is, here this one just drives me crazy. What is the status of climate change?
Well, since we're talking about truth and discerning the truth, and it's more importantly discerning God's truth, the answer is it's a fabrication. I mean, I have one question I ask people about this, and I always just get no answer at all. Not even a comment. Not even a just
Yeah.
nothing. And I ask this. I say simply think about it. We have to have exactly the correct amount of oxygen to survive. The balance has to be perfect.
Right.
And my question is, who is taking care of that?
Oh, well, it's the liberals.
Yes, they don't even want to touch that themselves because they know they aren't.
Well,
Because it's, not true.
and I used to think this was the stupidest thing people could say. And now I realize the level of truth it is. You're not going to change God's mind. God has it a certain way. When we were growing up, there was a commercial. Don't mess with Mother Nature. Don't fool around with Mother Nature. Our climate is controlled by God, not by man.
Yeah, I'm afraid that the world government, and I don't want to get carried away, but some of the stuff is, it's just to cause chaos, just to try to rally around something that nobody can touch. How do you disprove it? See what I mean? That's the idea they're trying to come up with something you can't prove or disprove. So therefore they can say anything you want over and over and enough people start believing it.
Well, here's a modern day example. We use sprays on our bushes, on our grass, in the air, and these are all toxic for some type of creature. Maybe we're trying to get rid of mosquitoes, or maybe we're trying to get rid of snakes that come into our gardens. We are at a problem in this country right now, in this world, because we're killing bees. These little teeny things that only live like a month. And yet by knocking them out, by spraying them, we are killing them, and you can't believe how much a bee has to do with our landscape, our beauty, our earth.
Well, I was down at the farm recently, and I noticed an ailing.
The funny farm?
And I've been in there long enough, and they let me go. And this was a day of a release,
Yeah.
And I got to go in the country and kind of get
Yeah.
the fresh air. And so anyway, no, I was there longer than that. I was there a whole week, actually. No.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Anyway, so at not funny farm, but the regular farm, I noticed a monarch butterfly that was ailing. And he looked like he was famished.
Yeah.
And I was looking around, and I didn't see any, milkweeds because they've all been sprayed.
Yeah.
And so reality is, can things we do affect things? Yes. But there's always somebody in control, and it's not us.
That's right.
So while these idiots might go around and do the wrong things, I mean, how many tests have we blown up bombs, atomic in the air and everything? I mean,
We're still here.
we're still here. The radiation should have gotten us a long time ago. What happened? I don't know. So half-life's different.
Now, what about that story going around, and it's true, they are sea fisher people are finding shrimp that are radioactive. Now, these are nothing that ever walked on the earth. They didn't hang around where neutron bombs were. But we have shrimp that have radiation. They're
Well, they already got iodine in them, which is causing some problem for people. I suppose you just add it to the menu. But all kind of things can and do happen. I mean, there's no question that, do you realize, just because I happen to know this, but do you realize that one of the best insulators of nuclear energy, of the radiation, is water?
Really?
Yeah, and you think of the ocean, a lot, some of the atomic bombs have been in the ocean, but actually, there's some. You wonder, God probably thought of this way ahead of time, but it's really truly interesting. So, what else we want to talk about?
well, all the things we've been talking about so far. Have our rights been violated in this country with all the lies and the hate and the sin and the mistrust?
Well, one of the things I think we kind of forget, because we hear so much talk about all the things we're entitled to, the Constitution just guarantees us three things. Although these are big things, really big, all-encompassing: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, that's it. So this idea of the government providing everything, being dependent upon it, That just isn't true. I mean, that's not something. The government shutdown that we're in right now is symptomatic of the left in action. The left right now, through the Congress, are violating the very rights they're elected to protect.
Yep.
And the reason I say that, they don't care about anybody's employment. They're trying to add a 1.5 trillion thing onto this that has to do with advocating their political agenda,
Yep.
including dependents and such. We should be up in arms, pardon the pun, but literally, it may not be far off. We are going, we didn't talk about this, but but it's almost like we're in a silent civil war in a sense. We really
Well,
are.
and how does the government interfere with life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Okay, start with life. I'm sorry, this is a big topic to me. Abortion.
Yeah, the
They
latest.
say it's okay to take a life.
Well, not only that, but another pill was just approved by the FDA, and the slogan, what they're promoting, is to the pharmaceutical company is located in Virginia, and they want to normalize abortion. That's their objective.
Yeah, take a pill in the morning, no matter how you acted last night.
And today,
Isn't it the same as the morning after pill, or the same thought?
well, it kind of is, and what really it's all about is kind of like having a stiff drink and hoping you forget all about it. It's like avoiding responsibility. It's like saying, "What the hell? If we get pregnant, so what? If I drink a bunch, I have an accident. What the hell?" It's the total disregard for life.
Well, and the second word in that is liberty. Liberty gives us the opportunity to do some of the things we want to do. And yet the government continues to come in and say, well, you can't do this, and you can't own this, and you can't do that.
Well, the problem there is our liberty extends as far as our arm until we hit someone.
Yeah,
And that's truly that's our freedom, if you will.
yeah.
When the government tells you that you're not free to express yourself, that you're not free to say what we don't want you to say, and that's where Charlie Kirk was. He was saying things, they didn't hate him. He didn't have hate speech. They hated what he said
Yeah.
because it spoke against them, much since we're in much as the Pharisees did with Jesus.
Well, but the problem, not the problem, the greatest thing about Charlie was he'd take you on with words.
Well, that's right. And quite frankly, he wasn't putting people down. He was simply wanting to debate it.
You're listening to The View from a Pew. My name is Max. Steve is my co-host. Today we're talking about truth, discussing God's truth. And if you are not a follower of Jesus, if your religion is a religion and not a relationship, then this may not make a lot of sense to you. And I want to hear from you. I guess I'm like Charlie that way.
Well-
I'm not afraid to hear or be asked questions, and you can ask them real easily. Just go to Mac, M-A-C, at The View from a Pew, theviewfromapew.com, and send me an
I
email.
want to interject something here. You're talking about if you have a religion or not. All of us have a philosophy of life. So whatever your philosophy of life, we want to hear from you.
All right, let me ask you this question, please. The third one is the pursuit of happiness. Who is it that stops us from the pursuit of happiness, or what is it?
Well, the pursuit of happiness obviously is different things than for people, and we should all have freedom to exercise that as long as it doesn't infringe with other freedoms. But if our freedom to do something takes away other people's freedoms, literally,
Yep.
then there's something wrong. If I'm free, if this group is free to express themselves religiously, but this group is not, something might be wrong there. However, if you have a group, I'm thinking of Muslims that want to impose their Sharia law over our law, that's different because we as a country have to survive on common law.
Yeah. Now, what I don't want to say Muslims, what the far left Muslims are doing, they figured out how to change our laws.
Well, that's right. And not only that, but there's a case in Dearborn, Michigan right now
Yep.
where they pretty much taken over and they want to celebrate a person that has been a known terrorist, And somebody spoke up and very nicely just said, is this the right thing to do? And the mayor of the city said, I want you to know you're not welcome here. And we will celebrate the day you leave. Now, in the media, people asked about that. He said, I mean that. Now, what he's really doing, and it's very clear politically what he's doing, is he wants to invite every far whatever up there so they can just start doing their own thing. They want to create their own.
Yeah.
And so and that's happening elsewhere too, where they want to impose Sharia law. Well, Sharia law is not our law. Therefore, it can't happen.
Well, look at this mayoral race in the city of New York, the largest city in America, one of the largest in the world. The guy who is leading the race right now wants the government to have control over everything.
Yeah, and Trump has said he doesn't want to give money. In fact, he's speaking out, rightly so. He says, where you guys are using this money to hurt the country. Basically, that's what he's saying. He's calling out some of the mayors and the governors. They said, look, if you want to work against our country, I don't want to fund you.
Yeah.
We don't want to fund you. We don't want to have a part to do with that because that doesn't represent what's good for our country. And that's what we've got to look at.
Well, and the left, and I don't like it when I hear somebody say the left, and I just said it. So I can't figure out a way or a word to use that isn't insulting.
Well,
you know what? Here I go. They're insulted or offended by anything and everything we say.
Well, that's right. If it isn't what they want to hear, it's wrong. And you could call them liberal as a good word. I mean, it was a good word. They took it and made it. They take these words and make it sound like something they're not.
Well, it's like global warming.
What about Socialist Democratic Party? What's that mean?
Yeah.
That's communist.
Well, global warming, that was a term that they said, well, we're heating up the earth. And when they figured out we weren't heating up the earth, then they changed it to climate change.
Yeah, because if they would have went global cooling, it would have been too obvious. It would have been, people would have said, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So it's just, you keep changing the agenda, or I would say this, you change what you call the truth to fit your agenda. And that is not discerning the truth because God never changes. His truth is always the same. End of story.
All right, now I'm going to change it up just a little bit. I want to ask you a question. Do we need to level the playing field by sharing the wealth evenly? And what I just said was what we were talking about. Should we all be living in a socialist government so that everything is level in the playing field?
Well, it sounds good. It sounds very much like the Communist Manifesto that Russia put in play in 1917. It sounded good. It even looked good on paper. It was beautiful. In practice, it doesn't work. Probably one reason it doesn't, it appeals to the worst elements in a person by claiming we're going to be little gods doing everything perfectly. You can't do that. That's not possible.
Yeah.
So, but what the left has wisely done, again, I'm using left, liberal, what do you want to say? They have taken and fanned envy. They don't want to make it equal. They're not saying that. They went beyond that. They're saying what you have, we want. You worked for it, you don't deserve it.
Yep.
Think of that. You worked for it, you don't deserve it. You took the risk, you don't deserve it.
Yep.
Remember when Obama was in and he said that you didn't make the roads, we did. Now you got a senator saying God doesn't give us our rights, the government does. My gosh, how goofy is this? In other words, if it sounds like it's not true, I mean, if it really doesn't, and if common sense is still alive, which it probably isn't, we would be able to say without any doubt that everybody should not be fooled.
My name is Mac, and my co-host today is Steve. We're talking about the truth and how mixed up sometimes as a world we are when we don't really hear the truth. And if you noticed, hold on one second. If you noticed, in this, we're about 34 minutes into this show, not one of us has mentioned the R word or the D word. We're talking about liberal and conservatives. We're not calling anything by a political.
Oh, that's right.
We haven't said that.
Should we start that now?
No.
Oh,
No.
okay. I thought I missed something for one.
No. We're talking about people's attitude towards things.
Speaking of attitude, it is apparent to me that the left doesn't understand or want to accept the working mechanics of capitalism, which continues to be the economic powerhouse of the world. Now, I say either they're ignorant or they're not capable of learning. I don't know which. Or they want to just plain deny it because it doesn't serve their needs.
Here's a piece of wisdom, and I hope you hear it that way, because I'm not saying it as wisdom. I'm saying it because it makes sense. Never assume malice when incompetence will suffice.
I like to think of much this way, too. Ignorance we can cure, stupidity we can't. Or, let's put it another way. Ignorance we can cure, but evil we can't.
Yeah. I had a pastor once ask this question in the middle of his sermon, and the question was, who do you hate? And I sat there, and I sat there, and I sat there, and all of a sudden I realized with a big grin on my face, I don't hate anybody.
I thought you stared at me that day.
I did.
Okay. Well, I didn't know how to take it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not trying to make myself sound special. I really am not. But at that point in my life, Jesus had come into my life. I had forgiven myself for most of the horrible things I had done. I had forgiven other people in my life. And at that moment, I can take you to where I was standing. I realized I don't hate anybody. And I'm not sure I hate anything. Except, now here's an oxymoron, I hate hate. So what does that make me, a hater? But I do. I despise hate. I despise when people forget the truth and now tell me that, no, this isn't Coca-Cola, it's watermelon juice. And we know it's not. But they're going to fight me until I agree, oh, okay, you're right. And what have they won? They've won stupidity.
Well, the number one thing we Christians have to be concerned about, we citizens have to be concerned about, is fear. We can't let fear control us, because once that happens, we lose control.
Yep.
I mean, there's no other way of saying it. And one thing, the left is just, if you think about, I just loved the way George Lucas did his Star Wars.
Star Wars, yeah.
Just he did such a good job of showing hate versus love.
Yep.
And how hate just destroys.
And diversity.
Yes. Remember what he called peace? Peace for him was everybody else being dead or controlled.
Oh my gosh.
What does that remind you of today?
Oh my gosh.
What does that, didn't that scare you?
Yeah.
That does scare me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to fight the fear, but it does scare me.
Well, and remember that I love the Bible, and Isaiah's one of my favorite dudes. I just love that guy. And he said in 5:20, I think it's 5:20, that the absence of truth is the cruelest hate of all. Now think about that. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. Welcome to 2025.
Yeah, so, if that's...
He didn't say that. I added that.
So what? Maybe that answers my question I have, or maybe question you have out there. Why is the pursuit of truth so important? And there is the answer. Because the absence of it is absolute cruelty.
Yep.
Because without truth, we are lost to the world. We are lost. We are part of the world, and we'll be here forever.
Well,
or somewhere like it.
There are people that are in power, and they know the difference between right and wrong because they make up what's right and what's wrong.
Yes.
And I always tell people that Jesus taught me the difference between right and almost right.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. The evil is the people that do know better.
And they do it anyway.
Yes, and they do it with a purpose, and they do it for the worst of intentions. And they do it for selfish reasons. They're never altruistic, ever. They may tell you it is. They may tell you it's the right thing to do to take Mac's money and give it to Steve, and I would say yes, it is. But I wouldn't be a very good Christian if I said that.
Well, and as we go on through Bible verses, and I'm sorry I keep quoting these, but love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in truth. That's in Corinthians 13, and that's what's called the love chapter. It's read at a lot of weddings, but you don't keep track. If you keep track of right and wrongs, what does that make you?
Our pastor recently talked about putting all your grievances on a spreadsheet. You'd be really well organized, but you still wouldn't be any less bitter.
Right.
In other words, you got to get it out. You got to forgive her, and then of course the impossible thing for us humans is to forget. I don't expect people to forget, but I do expect forgive. God can forget; He can do that. We don't have maybe the power to do that, except over time.
All right, so Stephen and Mac on the radio today. It's The View from a Pew. We appreciate you listening. If you want to get a hold of us, it's Mac, M-A-C, at The View from a Pew. And it's those words in that order, The View from a Pew, and that's .com. So we talked about abortion already. Let's talk for a minute about hopelessness.
Well, I want to back up on abortion on one thing, though.
Okay.
The question I hear then is why are we in the right or the conservative side? Why are we so anti-abortion? Why use that rhetoric? And I just think we have to say one thing: regardless of where you stand in this world on any philosophy of life, we better if we want our species to survive.
Yep.
End of story.
Yeah.
I was brought up on a farm. If the sow or whatever killed a young, we killed the sow.
Yeah.
It's just life.
Yeah, that's true.
It's true. And I'm afraid the people that are brought up on the concrete floor, I'm not anything against the city people at all, because I'm one of them now too, but have been for years. But I'm just saying basic nature dictates that just isn't the right thing to do.
There's a big conversation right now, Steve, about violence. And is it the liberal violence or is it the conservative violence? Who does more violence? Okay, am not really interested in that idea because it's really hard to measure. But if I've got to give an answer, we've lost 16 million children to liberal violence, to political violence. And you have got to count that as political violence.
Well, you also can count that as a breakdown of morality. There's a point where, again, back to the animal kingdom, but when you start wanting to or don't care about killing your young, there is something wrong. And at the numbers that we're talking about, it's grievously wrong. This is a big issue.
Yeah.
And I think it all comes down to really accountability and faith. I think people have stronger faith in Jesus wouldn't do it. I believe if they had stronger faith, they'd be more accountable. That's I don't know.
But it's not. I'm going to sound like a parent here. It's not the abortion that's wrong. It's having a reproductive association with someone from the opposite sex in which you don't care if it works.
Well, yes, the rationale again, and that's where I get back to accountability, because it's not my fault. It's nothing I did. The condom didn't work. That's what was wrong. There's all kind of blame stuff, isn't there? It's always something else.
I got into a conversation with somebody the other day about abortion, and it's not my favorite subject, but we were having it, and that person said, "Oh, so you're okay with letting the mother die if her life is threatened, or if she's been raped, you're okay, and she can't have an abortion?" No, that's not correct. Who in God's name wouldn't save the mother first? Who in God's name would tell you if you've been raped, yes, it is God's child, but what happens to that child when you abort it? It goes straight to the womb of God, straight to heaven.
Yes, I would. That sounds good, but on the other hand, it's not ours. I guess truthfully, the walking the straight line would be let nature take its course. That would be the straight line. Now that's the toughest line to walk, and I understand the feelings that come into play in that. I do.
Yeah.
So, but that would be the straightest line.
And just one moment here. I'm going to put an asterisk on this. There are people out there that don't feel men have any right to talk about abortion. A man should have nothing to do with a woman's body. It's my choice, and I am not talking about women here. I'm talking about what we choose. And if you think you can do anything you want with your body, I want you to strip down naked and run down the street. Are you going to get arrested? Yeah. I guess you can't do anything with your body. What about, well, I'm going to sell my body for sex because that's the only way I can make money. If you get caught, what happens? Choice, because you have the right to choose, doesn't make it the right thing to choose. And I'm so passionate about abortion because I was adopted and I found my biological mother. We have a great relationship. And she told me in the year that I was conceived, Roe versus Wade wasn't a law. And she could not abort me because it wasn't legal. And so she gave me up for adoption. That really does give me a little, quote unquote, skin in the game, pardon the pun.
You know, recently I was reading about R.K. Rollins admonishing the star in her Harry Potter. What's her name?
I don't know. Yeah, but yeah.
But I should remember it. Very common. Anyway, but she bring up a good point. She says, you know, you've always lived on silver spoon. You've never had any want. It's very easy for you to say anything and everything. You have no skin there. You have no experience. You have no understanding. And I guess the reason I bring that up is that one of the things that we're trying to do from the 60s on is we're trying to get rid of wisdom, rid of tradition. I mean, rid of tradition, and along with that, it's wisdom, and pretend that we didn't learn anything from the last 2,000 years, and that we're going to do everything now. And in fact, all we have to do is ask Google, and that's the answer. So we don't even have to worry about knowing anything. And even there, though, God exists. So God's going to take control when He needs to. But that's the point. If you have faith, God will take. Now, that doesn't mean we lay around and do nothing about it. That doesn't mean that we are indifferent, because that's a great sin in itself.
You know, the blame game in this country is so horrible. It's never your fault. It's never my fault. It's nobody's fault. We just want to point fingers. We've got to replace that with accountability and faith. If we don't know what's right or wrong, if we don't know something's right or wrong, go to the Bible and look it up. That Bible was written by our Creator. Now, if you want to do something against the Creator, that's fine. But don't let me get hurt by it.
You know, the left has said now that the United States has slipped into what they call anocracy, ANOCRACY, which is a hybrid regime that wears the clothes of democracy while concentrating power in authoritarian hands. Now, if that would be the case, it seems to me the liberals created it, and people like Soros are funding it. And they've been responsible, the left, for legislating from the bench in an attempt to disrupt the balance of power in our three branches of government. In other words, what they're doing is creating chaos. They're trying to get our government out of balance, which they've done a good job.
Yeah, they have.
And you see the Supreme Court nominees, those three of them that were put in by liberals. They don't care at all about what the Constitution says. They go by from their hip. They don't give a rat's ass if it helps, hurts, kills us. They don't know what they're talking about. They're a bunch of idiots. Educated idiots, perhaps, but idiots. And I don't care if people say you shouldn't call them that. I call them what I want, because they're doing more harm than good. And the thing about this, I don't know, but it seems to me the past examples of hybrid regimes would include Nazi Germany, Imperial Russia, ancient Egypt, Roman Empire, the Francoist Spain, Soviet Union, Philippines under Marcos, currently North Korea, China, Russia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Belarus, Afghanistan. Okay, if it isn't just me, I just don't see any parallel with those countries in the United States of America. But that's what we're being accused of.
Yeah.
How dumb is that? We cannot fall for that.
Well, and I have a friend in my life, and
You have one friend?
just one.
I know.
Yeah.
I protect him. He's important.
It's a her.
Oh, her.
Anyway, and this is a very strong woman, okay? This is a successful woman, very strong. She feels like that kind of language, oh, you're a Nazi, you're a fascist. She feels you're putting her life in danger because that just stirs people up. Look at the last 2 times in the last week that somebody shot somebody. They've etched on the bullet, fascist, hey, Nazi. We've got to stop that. That's hate speech, and we ought to be arrested.
Did you
Those
read?
people that use that speech that way, and I don't mean that. I don't want to get rid of free speech, but the consequences of calling people that name is people think it's okay to kill people because they're that.
The left is saying we're acting like Nazis, the conservatives, and again, it's either ignorance or just plain evil because there's no in between on that, And boy, I tell you what, I think if you talk to the people who lived through that, they'd understand that we're not there, and I hope we never
Not
get
at
there.
all.
So.
Okay, so here's the last question I have for you for today. We've talked about culture. We've talked about politics. We've talked a lot about faith. We've talked about accountability. Is cultural morality best for our country? They always say you can't legislate morals, but you can.
Well, the problem with cultural morality is it shifts constantly. So,
Right.
if
I would agree.
if morality is based on absolutes, or put another way, I guess, is to answer your question, can you change the church? Can you change God's word? Can
No.
you change doctrine?
No.
So therefore, if that's
A liar and a hater can.
exactly. So the question is, who's promoting cultural morality? A liar and a hater. I mean, you can't get away from it. So the problem with that is whatever's praised today is going to be condemned tomorrow because it's on shifting sands. It has no basis. It's based on feelings, not on facts. So morality, without Scripture, is a moving target. God's word does not shift with feelings or politics. He said in Matthew 24:35, heaven and earth will pass away, by words will never. And he didn't say, keep quiet so you don't offend. He didn't say that.
No.
He didn't say that. He said, if you hold on to my teaching, you are my disciples. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Get that. Freedom. The truth will set you free. And remember what we talked about earlier, what you brought up, is that if you don't tell the truth, that's the cruelest thing you can do, right?
Yeah.
Because what you've done by not telling the truth, you've imprisoned people.
Yes.
And unfortunately, people are volunteering to get imprisoned and don't realize it. And the problem after that is once you get imprisoned, it can be kind of hard to get a hold of the keys to get out.
And we're not talking about a cell with bars.
No.
We're talking about imprisoned in your own heart.
A key to your heart. Absolutely.
Unforgiveness is a jail that we throw people in, and there's only one key that unlocks that door.
The culture may hate us, you, me, others that speak for the truth. They may hate us as haters. They may label us as haters. But the truth is, standing in God's word is the most loving thing we can do. Most loving, not hateful. We are called to hold fast to biblical truth no matter what the cost, even to martyrship.
And when we put somebody in that jail, that morality jail, that unforgiveness jail, there's only one key that unlocks it, and that's Jesus.
Amen.
All right, we want to thank you for taking your time to listen to us today. We sure have fun. Steve and I go to the same church, and we have a lot of the same ideas. He speaks more intelligently than I do, so that's why I like having you around. You make me look.
Well, that's
You
because
make me look stupid.
That's because I talk more.
Oh.
Actually, it should be the opposite, right?
I want to thank my sponsors, Divine Truth Christian Store, and thanks for listening.
Divine truth.